Hello and welcome back to the reading of the Bible. Today we are on chapter 2 of Genesis, the first Sabbath. So the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the furniture of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. And he blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. History of man. These are the generations of the heaven and the earth, when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the heaven and the earth, and every plant of the field before it sprung up in the earth, and every herb of the ground before it grew, for the Lord God had not rained upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the earth. But a spring rose out of the earth, watering all the surface of the earth. And the Lord God formed man of the slime of the earth, and breathed into his face the breath of life, and man became a living soul. The Garden of Eden. And the Lord God had planted a paradise of pleasure from the beginning, wherein he placed man whom he had formed. And the Lord God brought forth the ground all manner of trees, fair to behold, and pleasant to eat of. The tree of life also in the midst of paradise, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out to the place of pleasure, to water paradise, which from thence is divided into 4 heads. The name of the one is Physon. That is it which compasseth all the land of Havilah, where gold groweth. And the gold of that land is very good. There is found bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compass all the land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Tigris. The same passeth along by the Syrians, and the fourth river is Euphrates. God puts man in the Garden of Eden. And the Lord God took man and put him into the paradise of pleasure, to dress it and to keep it. And he commanded him, saying, Of every tree of paradise thou shalt eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat. For in what day soever thou shalt eat of it, thou shalt die the death. Creation of woman. And the Lord God said, It is not good for man to be alone. Let us make him a help like unto himself. And the Lord God, having formed out of the ground all the beasts of the earth and all the fowls of the air, brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. For whatsoever Adam called any living creature, the same is its name. And Adam called all the beasts by their names, and all the fowls of the air, and all the cattle of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper like himself. Then the Lord God cast a deep sleep upon Adam, and when he was fast asleep, he took one of his ribs, and filled up flesh for it. And the Lord God built a rib which he took from Adam into a woman, and brought her to Adam. Institution of marriage. And Adam said, This now is bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Wherefore a man shall leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall be 2 in 1 flesh. And they were both naked, to wit, Adam and his wife, and were not ashamed. Let's see. I'm going to go over some of the clarifications. Chapter 2, verse 2, he rested. An example, he ceased to make any new kinds of things, though. As our Lord tells us, My Father worketh until now, John 5:17, by conserving and governing all things and creating souls. Verse 7, breath of life. An example, the soul created by God. Verse 9, the tree of life. It was so called because by eating its fruit, man would have been preserved in a constant state of health, vigor, and strength. It would not have died. The tree of knowledge, to which the serpent falsely attributed the power of imparting superior kind of knowledge beyond that which God was pleased to give. And that is also where the original sin came from. However, let us also read chapter 3. The serpent deceives the woman. Now the serpent was more subtle than any of the beasts of the earth, which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Why hath God commanded you that you should not eat of every tree of paradise? And the woman answered him, saying, Of the fruit of the trees that are in paradise we do eat. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of paradise, God hath commanded us that we should not eat, that we should not touch it, lest perhaps we die. And the serpent said to the woman, No, you shall not die the death. For God doth know that in what day soever you shall eat thereof, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. sin of our first parents. And the woman saw that the tree was good to eat, and fair to the eyes, and delightful to behold. And she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave to her husband, who did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and when they perceived themselves to be naked, they sewed together fig leaves, and made themselves aprons. And when they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in paradise at the afternoon air, Adam and his wife hid themselves from the face of the Lord God amidst the trees of paradise. And the Lord God called Adam and said to him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in paradise, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said to him, And who hath told thee that thou wast naked, but that thou hast eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldst not eat? And Adam said, The woman, whom thou gavest me to be my companion, gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord God said to the woman, Why hast thou done this? And she answered, The serpent deceived me, and I did eat. The serpent is cursed. And the Lord God said to the serpent, Because thou hast done this thing, thou art cursed among all cattle and beasts of the earth. Upon thy breast shalt thou go, and earth shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Redeemer is promised. I will put enmities between thee and the woman, and thy seed and her seed. She shall crush thy head, and thou shalt lie in wait for her heel. Mankind's punishment. To the woman also he said, I will multiply thy sorrows and thy conceptions. In sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, and thou shalt be under thy husband's power, and he shall have dominion over thee. And to Adam he said, Because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldst not eat, cursed is the earth and thy work. With labor and toil shalt thou eat thereof all the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herbs of the earth. And the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return to the earth, out of which thou wast taken. From dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. And Adam called the name of his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all the living. Adam and Eve driven from the garden. The Lord God made for Adam and his wife garments of skins, and clothed them. And he said, Behold, Adam is become as one of us, knowing good and evil. Now, therefore, lest perhaps he put forth his hand, and take also the tree of life, and eat and live forever. The Lord God sent him out of the paradise of pleasure, to till the earth from which he was taken. And he cast out Adam, and placed before the paradise of pleasure cherubims and a flaming sword, turning every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Let's see, chapter 3, verse 7, and the eyes. Not that they were blind before, for the woman saw that the tree was fair to the eyes, verse 6, nor that their eyes were opened to any more perfect knowledge of good, but only to the unhappy experience of having lost the good of original grace and innocence, and of having incurred the dreadful evil of sin, whence followed a shame of their being naked, which they had not minded before. Being now stripped of original grace, they quickly began to feel the shameful rebellions of the flesh. Verse 15, She shall crush thy head. This is a translation of the Latin Vulgate. The Hebrew reads, It, her seed, shall crush thy head. The meaning of both is the same, for it is by her seed, Jesus Christ, that the woman, Mary, crushes the head of the serpent. In art, Mary is frequently pictured with her foot on the head of a serpent. Verse 22, Behold Adam. This was spoken ironically, to reproach Adam for his pride in seeking a knowledge that might make him like God. So there we have it. We have chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the Bible, of the book of Genesis of the Bible. Next week, we shall continue with chapter 4 and chapter 5. Until then, thank you very much for watching. You make sure to have a wonderful day, and God bless. Thank you very much.